I hope you're well. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today's video is the nonfiction on Booktube Tag in honor of Nonfiction November. So the Nonfiction November readathon and this tag were both created by Olive at A Book of Olive, so I will link her 2020 announcement video as well as her original video for this tag. But in essence, the tag was meant to allow nonfiction booktubers to find each other because they're still somewhat like unicorns. Not as bad as it was several years ago, but still. And I think that this idea of a tag creating a sense of community is fabulous, and since I do read a fair amount of nonfiction, I figured it was high time I did it. So why don't we just dive right in? So, question number 1. How much nonfiction do you read? And for 2020, I think I'm around 15% for the books that I've read. I was definitely in a nonfiction slump immediately after college and during my brief foray into the book publishing industry. Thankfully, that is all behind me, and now I am devouring nonfiction on a regular basis. Question 2. What kind of nonfiction videos do you make or do you want to make on Booktube? At this point, most of the nonfiction that I've incorporated to my channel has been incorporated into the wrap-up videos that I post each month, or have been TBRs for specific nonfiction readathons, like Nonfiction November, which I'll put in the end cards for you, or the History Challenge, which again, I'll put in the end cards for you. I would love, though, to, as my channel grows, to create nonfiction specific videos about my favorite nonfiction books on a particular topic, or on a particular person, or on particular subgenres of nonfiction. I guess more like listicles or top 5 type videos. And I'd also really like to post more single book review videos on nonfiction books as well. So, have big plans, but we'll get there eventually. But yeah. Question 3. What's your favorite subgenre of nonfiction? It's nonfiction history. And I have to say, like all booktubers, I have a love of reading. I am a true bibliophile. However, I would have to say that my true passion is history, and I will devour it in any form that I can get it, whether it's nonfiction or fiction, and reading is my way of satiating that unquenchable hunger for history and learning. So that is definitely my preference, and most of my nonfiction reading is historical. The other category or subgenre of nonfiction that I would say ranks pretty highly is also biography, but I have a very specific type of biography. I love to read biographies about women, particularly women in history that have otherwise been put in the footnotes of history, learning about their lives and reclaiming their historical importance and significance. So there you go. Question 4 is, do you have a favorite nonfiction book? I have many, but the one that really sticks out for me is A Woman of No Importance by Sonia Purnell, which I read earlier this year, and it fits into that type of biography that I was just talking about, where it focuses on a woman who hasn't really received the credit or the prominence that she should have, considering all that she accomplished in her life. And A Woman of No Importance is the story of a spy, Virginia Hall, who infiltrated Vichy France and basically helped the Allies and created this insane network of spies in France, endangering her life multiple times. And the things that she did, they were so courageous, so insane, like that it was hard to believe that these things were actually real life events. Like, it felt like it should have been a James Bond movie or something like that. It blew my mind. And so that book in particular I really enjoyed. It was a biography. It read like a spy adventure thriller type thing. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, so I absolutely adored it. So if I had to pick a favorite currently, that would be the one. So question 5, what do you think keeps people from reading more nonfiction? I think it's a combination of two things. And those two things actually go hand in hand, in my opinion. And the first is exposure to nonfiction. I think that growing up, most of us aren't really exposed to nonfiction in the same way that we are with fiction. An example of this is that throughout elementary and middle school, we had monthly book reports. Every year, we'd be required to read one nonfiction book for the entire academic year, and it was generally that you were given the choice of an autobiography, a biography, or a memoir, and that was it. And I think for a lot of people, they can relate. Similarly, for most people, because the only exposure we really had to it was in school, a lot of people associate nonfiction with homework and required reading rather than exploring the genre and finding things that they like. So I think there is this hang up when it comes to nonfiction that it is only academic, and so people don't explore the genre. They don't understand that there's so much in the nonfiction genre, that there's really something for everyone if you really look for it. So, question 6. Why do you like nonfiction? I consider myself a perpetual student. I would love nothing more than to earn a PhD and spend my life teaching history at a university and doing research and writing books and papers and all of that. I absolutely love academia. I absolutely love learning. So for me, nonfiction is that way to satisfy that desire to continue to learn and grow and challenge myself. And to be honest, there is nothing more exciting to me than when I read a nonfiction book and it sends me down a rabbit hole of trying to learn more and more on a particular subject or a particular person. I love taking deep dives into topics that I find interesting, and the only way to find topics that I don't already know about is to read. So it really is this exciting way for me to continue to learn. And what I love about reading nonfiction too is that no matter how much I read, there is so much more out there. It's inexhaustible. There's always going to be another book, even if it's on a similar topic, that has a different perspective or that sheds a light on some facet of something that I didn't know before. So I just love that you really can't get enough of it. So, what's a nonfiction book you read because of Booktube? And the first book that comes to mind is actually A Woman of No Importance, which I spoke about earlier in this video. I was watching Emma at a Cup of Books, and she brought it up in a video and said that it was, I believe, a favorite book of hers. And so that prompted me to actually pick it up and read it for the History Challenge readathon. Other books that I'm currently reading because of Booktube would be Radium Girls and also Black Tudors. Question 8. What's the best nonfiction book you've read lately? I would have to say The Butchering Art by Lindsey Fitzharris, and I spoke about this book in my October wrap-up, so I'll put that in the cards for you. But I found this book fascinating. I think it really did a wonderful job of making you understand what medicine was like in Victorian England, and it was appalling. Like, I mean, I knew it wasn't sanitary, but oh my god. The book was just eye-opening. I found the subject matter just really interesting and well written, and if you like medical history and aren't squeamish, then I would say it is a great book to read. Question 8. What are some of your nonfiction reading goals? I would say that I have several. The first is that I would love to read more nonfiction in 2021. I think if I'm now currently reading 15%, that ideally I'd like to up that number to 25%. So there's that. But I would also really love to read more nonfiction history books written by female historians. If you watch my channel, you know that I am really big on wanting to celebrate and support female historians and female writers on the whole, but in the case of female historians, that field is still predominantly male, so I would love to support them in their careers. Question 9. What's your advice for incorporating more nonfiction into your reading diet? And I think the first and easiest thing anyone can do is to read about things that you know you're already passionate about. So for me, I already know I have a passion for history, so it's easy to find nonfiction history books that will capture my attention. But if you're someone who likes sports, read about sports. If you're someone who really likes music, read about music. If you're someone who really enjoys board games, read about that. Fashion, there's a book for that. So read about things that you know you are already interested in and would like to learn more about. My second word of advice is to read books that are written by authors that you already enjoy or recommended by those authors you enjoy. So I know not all or not that many authors cross over between fiction and nonfiction, so that might not be easy for everyone. But if your favorite author recommends a nonfiction book or writes a blurb about a nonfiction book, give it a shot. Lastly, is just don't write off nonfiction. I think it's easy for people to read a nonfiction book and not enjoy it and then write off the whole genre. And no, don't do that. We don't do it with fiction. We read one bad book. We don't write off the entire fiction world. Like, we might not read another book by that author, we might not read a book in that particular genre or on that topic again, but there's other things out there, and it's the same with nonfiction. There are lots of subgenres, lots of different authors, so just kind of keep trying, dip your toes in. Pick the last question. It's not actually a question. So it's to give some recommendations of nonfiction booktube channels that you love. So the first booktuber that I want to give a shout out to would be Jill at the Book Bully, who happens to be one of the co-hosts with Olive for Nonfiction November. I discovered her channel because of Nonfiction November and her announcement video, and it's just been such a treat, and I've just been devouring videos on her channel ever since. So there's one. Another would be Emma from A Cup of Books, and she was really the first nonfiction booktuber that I discovered, and I just love her videos. She does this series called 8 That Are Great, where she talks about 8 books in a particular genre, subgenre, or on a particular topic that she really enjoys, and she just is filled with amazing recommendations. I would also like to give a shout out to Noelle over at Noelle 7 Pages. She is like the aspirational chill factor. Like, I could never be as cool, as chill, as laid back as Noelle seems in her videos, and I absolutely love it. And she reads nonfiction. I would have to say her tastes in fiction can vary a bit from my own, but we do have pretty, I want to say, similar tastes and interests when it comes to nonfiction. So I'd also love to give a shout out to Katie Davis, who I feel like is my first booktube friend, and I love her channel and I love her to bits. I would say that we have varying tastes when it comes to both fiction and nonfiction. She tends to read far more fantasy and sci-fi and nonfiction books that have a more science lean to them in some cases than I do, and like, she's just lovely. And so with that, my friends, I have completed this book tag. If you did do this tag before, certainly let me know, because I would love to see your nonfiction on Booktube Tag as well. But as always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it thumbs up, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you on my next video. Bye!